It's the CalebDMTG Show.
All right, Neon Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, full oral set review with your host CalebDMTG. Starting with the white cards, white, blue, black, red, green order. We will not get through all of the set today. It is a wordy set, so I'm not going to be too ambitious. I'm going to try and break it up into 2 different days. And then tomorrow, we'll probably have time for some constructed magic after we finish. Alright, Ancestral Katana, 1 in a white artifact equipment. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks on loan, you may pay 1. When you do, attach Ancestral Katana to it, and then the equipped creature gets +2/+1. Equip 3. Huh. Hey Gages, thanks for the $20 donation. You're very welcome for the set review. I haven't even given my review of Ancestral Katana yet. You're already throwing a donation in. Hey Samuel Danoka, thanks for 45 months there. Yeah, so Ancestral Katana kind of seems like filler equipment, right? Pumping, like having a permanent way to pump your creatures in an artifact deck, or I'm sorry, not artifact, an aggro deck in limited, is usually a little bit better than it seems. But even still, this isn't like a high pick or anything like that. Even if you're in a like dedicated samurai or warrior deck, though it does get better there. Hey Moon Mirior, thanks to Sod, thanks for sharing that prime. Seems bad, does seem bad, yeah. That's why they use that word filler. That's usually what filler means. It's like bad, but sometimes you play it anyway. And I'd look to play it in aggro if I was playing it. Anyway, AO the Dawn Sky, 3 white legendary creature, Dragon Spirit, Flying Vigilance. When AO the Dawn Sky dies, choose 1. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put a number of non-land permanent cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Or put 2/1/1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or vehicle. So this dragon's pretty sweet. 7 cards is a lot of cards to look at. So you're only getting mana value 4 or less, so you're not like replacing this dragon with another like sick-ass dragon. Though I guess there's some 4-drop dragons. Some sweet 4-mana Planeswalkers. Yeah, this card seems sweet. The cool thing about these dragon cycles is if you draw multiples, unlike a lot of legends, they're not dead, right? You can just like fire one off and then get the death trigger, get some value. With this one, you can even like overrun the first one, get some more damage in. I like that it pumps dormant vehicles too. Hey Eric Virgo, thanks for the 64 months. In 5 short months, you'll only be 1 month away from 70. Oh man, that is some fancy math. Fancy math you did there. Hey Mariak, thanks for the 31 months. Yeah, this Dawn Sky seems sick. Obviously it's a bomb unlimited, which is like almost not even worth mentioning. But fucking casual players are gonna love it. Constructed players are gonna love it. Everyone's gonna love this thing. The art's fucking gorgeous too. Banishing Slash, white sorcery, destroy up to 1 target artifact, enchantment, or tapped creature. Then if you control an artifact and an enchantment, you get a 2/2. Oh, Tybalt says that 5 mana seems like a lot when there's a lot of bounce spells in the format. Oh, you're talking about the Dawn Sky? Yeah, but like any creature that just like makes removal look like garbage appeals to me. And just because there's like a lot of unsummoned seeing play now doesn't mean that there will be the entire time that the Dawn Sky is in standard, right? And the look at the top 7 cards of your library, put some permanents into play, is not an ability that is that gets worse when you leave standard. That's an ability that gets better when you leave standard. You have more options for permanents to cheat out. I'm not calling AO the Dawn Sky the next Protean Hulk, but you know, it's got a little bit of that going on. Anyway, Banishing Slash. White sorcery, destroy up to one target artifact, enchantment, or tapped creature. Then if you control an artifact and enchantment, get a 2/2. Yeah, this card seems sick. The sorcery speed nature is a little obnoxious for removal. Creature has to be tapped. And you only get the 2/2 if you have an artifact and an enchantment. I mean, value is value. I don't think this is showing up in Eternal formats. Yeah, I guess it'll depend on like how often you can actually get the 2/2 hum. In a lot of limited formats, main deck disenchant is totally good and totally reasonable. And this seems like a limited format where you're actually gonna get a 2/2 a decent amount of the time. So, card's probably gas. All right. Befriending the Moths. Four mana here. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 against flying until end of turn. The first two parts of the saga. And then the third is exile the saga and get to the battlefield. Transformed under your control. So +1/+1 in flying for a creature is not especially good for 4 mana. Unless you're like in pure top deck wars and you just need something to break a board stall. But it's not a good trick, especially at sorcery speed. That's not even a 1/1 counter. So the backside creature has to be like pretty reasonable to make up for a very conservatively costed front side, right? On the backside's a 2/4 moth. Yeah, I don't think this card's good at all. I think this card's fucking terrible. to put it frankly. I would love to be proven wrong, but you know, it's fucking 4 mana. it's 4 mana. You got a 4 mana. So what you're doing here is your 4 mana, and then hopefully you get some damage in with it, and then you've got a 2/4 with like suspend 2 or whatever. I don't know. I've played with a lot of suspend creatures, and they usually seem better. They usually seem better than that. It's a moth though. Oh, that's true. I hadn't thought about the. It doesn't say moth creature type though. It just says insect. Anyway, don't you hate on your moth friends? I'm just saying that like maybe there's other things the moth could do. It could be like a lamp shiner instead of being a magic card. All right, Blizzard Kitsune, 2 and a white. Creature, Fox Ninja, 2/2. Ninjutsu, 3 and a white. It's got double strike. Yeah, this card's fine. It seems like a fairly generic, like, stock white card, 3 mana, 2/2 double strike, that they just, like, threw the new set mechanic onto. Totally reasonable. Not gonna be, like, a super high pick or anything like that, but it's gonna play pretty well in some decks. Obviously, double strike's cool with equipment. And Ninjutsu is certainly a supported mechanic. Born to Drive, 2 and a white, enchantment aura, enchant artifact or creature. As long as an enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1 for each creature and or vehicle you control. And then channel, 2 and a white, discard Born to Drive, create 2 1/1 colorless pilot creature tokens with this creature cruise vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. Cool. So everything about this card is just like playing well with vehicles, right? You can enchant like a dormant vehicle. That's why it says enchant artifact or creature. And then when it's a creature, it gets +1/+1 for each creature and or vehicle you control. And that'll pump for your dormant vehicles too. That's kind of nice, because if you end up with like too many vehicles, not enough things to crew, this card seems really good about that. like if you're enchanting your creature, then you still get like the passive bonus from the uncrewed vehicles, and then you can channel this to like get some pilot creatures that play really well with vehicles. So you put it in your creature deck or your vehicle deck. Pretty straightforward. You can indeed channel at instant speed, yeah. Ooh, so you're saying like you've got a couple vehicles in play and like nothing to crew them, and your opponent attacks in, and you're like, ha, get channeled. I love it. I like where your brain's at. No Typhoid. That'd be +2/+2. It's not gonna double count. A creature, if a vehicle's a creature, it's not gonna give it. If you activate a vehicle, I'm pretty sure the way that it's worded, it's only gonna get counted once. It's not gonna give it +2/+2 if it's a creature vehicle. Hey Spoop, thanks for the 5 months. Set does look fun. I'm pretty hyped about it. Brilliant Restoration. 3 white, 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 white. 7 mana for a sorcery. Return all artifact and enchantment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. Ooh. So Open the Vaults did something similar for 6 mana, but Open the Vaults was both players. So for 1 mana, you're not getting back your opponent's stuff. This kind of seems like a casual card. I mean, I played Open the Vaults in Constructed, so sometimes those engine cards just like fool you. I actually, the one tournament that I played that in, the Open the Vaults in Standard, I drew the last round playing for top 8 and got 9th on Breakers. It was an unintentional draw. I was playing an extremely grindy version of Open the Vaults that was using Thopter Foundry as the win condition, so it took a while. And my record in the Swiss was I beat everything that wasn't Jund, and then I went 1-1-1 against Jund, which was the deck that was supposedly unbeatable for Open the Vaults, but I tested so much and finally got it to where I thought it was like an even matchup, and then it didn't matter anyway. I was kind of vindicated in the tournament, but it super didn't fucking matter. Sometimes you're right and you still don't get there. Anyway, I'm kind of off on a very bizarre long tangent now. Let's move on, why don't we? Cloudsteel Kieran, 2 and a white. Time Sieve? Oh, I was playing Time Sieve. But the Time Sieve's not the win con, right? The win con is what you're attacking with when you have the Time Sieve in play. So most of those decks played Glassdust Hulk. But Thopter Foundry gave you tech versus cards like Maelstrom Pulse. And then the way to gain life versus like the early aggression and trade with cards like Bloodbraid and stuff. Whereas if you were using Glassdust Hulk, like your matches ended way faster because it's a much quicker win con once you're starting taking turns with Time Sieve. But then you don't have tech to brick Maelstrom Pulse and that sort of thing. Maelstrom Pulse was like really backbreaking if you couldn't answer it. You're trying to put like a bunch of the same casting cost or same named artifacts into play, right? Anyway, I somehow got dug deeper into my like fucking obscure tangent. Neon Kamigawa, this very recent set, not even released yet, super unrelated to this incredibly old story about a PTQ that I didn't even top 8. Hey Casper OV, thanks for 56 months. Alright, Cloudsteel Kieran, 2 and a white, artifact creature equipment Kieran, ooh, a rare. Flying, equipped creature has flying and you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. Reconfigure 5, 3/2. This card's fucking sick. Sometimes worship effects can be very frustrating to play against, and Platinum Angel effects.
Oh shit, what up?
I kind of wonder if this is going to be enough to get some Hammer Time players in Modern to move away from Luris. This seems like sweet tech, right? Reconfigure is a cost that, like Equip, can be cheated with cards like Pure Steel Paladin and that 1 mana thing. So you could have like a 3 mana Platinum Angel. Not good in every matchup. I guess that's the issue, right? Luris is good in every matchup. But you could like have someone in your sideboard or something. Does it go to the graveyard if attached to a removed creature? I think it operates as an equipment. So I think when you kill the creature, you have you get the creature back, right? Could be Cocoed. That's true, it could be Cocoed. That's something I'm not like 100% about, like how Reconfigure works. I assume that it works just like Equipment does when you kill the equipped creature. It's like Bestow Mutate. Okay, cool. I was like so confident in my head, and then I started answering the question. I became less confident. That's one of the reasons I like doing these set reviews. I end up learning a lot from chat. Hey, Badagaboosh thinks there's 61 months there. Yeah, Wizards confirmed that that this works with Sigarda's aid. Saw people talking about it on Twitter.
Oh shit, what up?
He zinks for Mayor. I think it's the 47 months there. Yeah, Reconfigure does a little bit more than Equip. Specifically, you can unattach from a creature, which is relevant with these creature equipments, because maybe you want Cloudsteel Kirin to be a 3/2 flyer, right? Like, say you reconfigure onto like some 1/1 Piddler, and then it does its thing. It prevents you from losing the game, but then a few turns later, it turns out that if you had a flyer, you could attack for the win. So then you reconfigure, have it drop off, that sort of thing.
Oh shit, what up?
Hey, Zombie thinks the sub, thinks the 16 months. Yeah, reconfigure creatures are equipment. So if your equipment gets equipped 0, like with Pure Steel Paladin, it works. Anyway, I feel like it's all been clarified now. We can move on. Card seems sweet. Reconfigure seems sweet. Dragonfly Suit, 2 and a white, 3/2, artifact vehicle flying, crew 1. This card seems decent.
Oh shit, what up?
It's not like incredible. It's not like super aggressively costed or whatever. But crew 1 is pretty easy. Crew 1 is pretty doable. And flying is always great. So I wouldn't pick this card aggressively, but I also wouldn't mind having it in my deck. Iganjo Exemplar, 1 and white, 2/1. Enchantment creature, human samurai. Whenever samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So that's cool. It's exalted, but only for samurais and warriors. Yeah, general Goblin Piker type effects tend to not be that good. Better in aggro, better in some formats than others. This has a lot of interesting things about it that you might end up caring about, right? The samurai creature type, it being an enchantment, and then buffing samurais or warriors that are attacking alone. It seems like that might be a mechanic in the set, right? Samurais and warriors attacking alone. We saw that equipment earlier. Benefited from a samurai or warrior attacking alone. So you might be trying to Voltron in a single attacker. Anyway. Arrow of Enlightenment, 1 and a white. Scry 2. And the second one is you gain 2 life.
Oh shit, what up?
Those are both kind of reasonable. And then the last one is you flip it. You get a 2/2 first strike. Yeah, I don't know if I like this card. Like a weird Birth Emilitus? Sort of. Birth gives you value. You get a land and you get an 0/4. This is not really giving you like actual card advantage, right? Like Birth is. It's giving you like a little bit of scry value. And then you have a 2/2 with suspend 2. Like if this card was not a if it was not a Saga, if it was literally a 2-mana 2/2, then when it came into play you scryed 2, it would not be a high limited pick. and it probably wouldn't see much constructed play, right? We literally have that rare that can scry 2, or you can like blink one of your other creatures. But the being able to blink one of your other creatures is a pretty important part of that card, right? In terms of its constructed viability. And that card was not like a great limited card or anything like that, right? And this is just fine. And this is much, much worse because the 2/2 has suspend 2. Though it does have first strike. First strike's a fine limited ability. Yeah, I think you have to have a good reason to draft this thing. I could be wrong. If it's a very underpowered set, if the format's like really slow, then maybe a 2/2 with suspend 2 isn't too slow. Maybe the scry value matters more. If it's like really grindy. Just saying. The Fall of Lord Konda, 2 and a white. Exile target creature and opponent controls mana value 4 or greater. Oh, well, this one's good. I don't even have to read the rest of the card. This card's already great. 2, each player gains control of all permanents they own. Sure. And then 3, exile this and return it to the battlefield. Ooh. So the 1/3, and then when it dies, you draw a card. Yeah, this card rules. This one I would draft pretty highly. This art's fucking sick too. There's so much cool detail going on. Oh man, I love it. Farewell, 4/white sorcery. Choose one or more, exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, and graveyards. Adios in Spanish. Merciless Eviction. Yeah, there's a lot of cards you can compare this to in Magic's history. They've printed a lot of Chroma's Vengeance type effects. This one, doing exile and being able to choose one or more gives it a ton of flexibility. I'd be surprised if it didn't see like a little bit of standard play. And then obviously EDH players are gonna love it. Is this the best planar cleansing? It's up there, huh? It's gotta be up there. Reminds you of Ugin? Yeah. I mean, it's not on Ugin's level. It's not like a weird win condition with like a ton of loyalty stapled on. But it's also only 6 mana. Alright, Goshen Tie of Shared Purpose, 3 and a white. Legendary enchantment creature Shrine, Vigilance at the beginning of your end step. You may pay 1 if you do, create a 1/1 Krullos Spirit token for each shrine you control. And some people were confused about this, but Shrine is not a creature type. It is a enchantment type. So, if you were gonna build Shrine Tribal, you're out of luck, I guess. Shrine's a legendary type, not an enchantment type. Okay, well, I'm wrong. The important part is it's not a creature type. Oh, it is an enchantment type. I was right. Well, whatever. I got. It seeks those who act with kindness and offers friendship. Yeah, I mean, sometimes shrines are good and limited. Get enough of them. Format's slow enough. And then even if the format's not slow enough, sometimes you can build your control deck, your wonky 3/4 color pile, have it turn out. This one spitting out 1/1s is pretty sweet. Obviously the base body of 4 mana for 1/3 is not great, but it kind of doesn't need to be. The other shrines historically haven't had any body at all, so that's gotta be kind of an upgrade, right? A staple in Shrine EDH? Yeah, okay. And Golden Tailed Disciple is going to be a staple in Fox Monk EDH, and that could be the whole set review. Didn't one spit out 1/1s? Yeah, the Green Shrine did. And that one cost 5 mana, and it didn't come with a 1/3 body attached. You, of course, didn't have to pay 1, but this one does it at the beginning of your end step. Doing it at the beginning of your end step instead of your upkeep is way fucking better. Because you get those bodies immediately, right? And you get to start blocking immediately. Anyway, Golden Tailed Disciple, 3 mana for a 2/3 lifelink enchantment creature, Fox Monk. These are good defensive stats. When you see cards like this at common, you think that maybe this format's not going to be blisteringly fast. when you see this at common, it's like, maybe you're going to have some time to develop your board and build around synergies and stuff, as opposed to blitzing folks out. So seeing cards like this can like make the slower sagas seem a little bit better than they look at first glance. I still don't think they look good, but it's kind of interesting how like some cards in the set can impact the quality of others. Hey, Wee Little Fox thinks the 6 months. Blarg indeed. Hotshot Mechanic, 1 white, artifact creature, Fox Pilot. Hotshot Mechanic crews vehicles as though its power were 2 greater. So it crews vehicles as a 4/1. It's 1 mana for 2/1. It's pretty sweet. Obviously not like a busted card or an early draft pick, but it does one thing really, really good. It's just like very hyper efficient. And when creatures are super hyper efficient like that, and really good at really doing one thing, it means that they've got a home for a constructed deck. If there's a constructed deck that wants that, right? That wants that tool. And I mean, there's plenty of vehicles that have shown up in constructed, so would not be surprised if this one was a staple hum. True, also an artifact creature. Imperial Oath, 5 and a white, sorcery, create 3/2/2 white samurai creature tokens with vigilance, scry 3. This card's good. I mean, it costs fucking 6 mana, so I should hope it does something good, but no, this is sweet. 6 mana, 6 power, 6 toughness, scry 3. Love it. Imperial Recovery Unit. This sort of card usually ends up being like a little bit better in sealed than draft, just because you have more time to get to your top end in sealed. You're basically doing like Crawworm level stats, right? 6 power for 6 mana. Those cards tend to be reasonable and limited, especially if they have some added on value, like the Scry 3 here. Keep them from flooding out. And then white's pretty good at spreading out value over multiple bodies, right? And there's samurai tokens, which is relevant in the set, relevant creature type. Anyway, Imperial Recovery Unit, 2 and a white, 3/4 artifact vehicle. Whenever it attacks, return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand. Crew 2. This card's good, right? Yeah, it doesn't just recur creatures, but vehicles as well, as long as they cost 2 or less.
Oh shit, what up?
I mean, we've had 3 mana, 3/4 vehicles before with like relatively worthless abilities. I think it like untapped a creature or something. Obviously, it was all colorless. It didn't have white. So it makes sense that this could be a little bit better. And it is a little bit better. Recurring something is awesome. The really cool thing about this ability being stable to a 3/4 is that when you attack with this on turn, 4 or whatever, it's very rarely going to be able to be eaten in combat. So you can play your 2-drop, trade your 2-drop, play your 3-drop, which is this, and then turn 4 crew it, and get your 2-drop back. Not a constructed card. It's not costed for that. It's a good limited card for sure. Yeah, you'll probably have something else to crew it by that point, though. Sprobbles. You'll probably have another creature by turn 4, right? In your vehicle creature crew deck. I don't know. I would hope so. Imperial Subduer, 2 and a white for a 3/2. Human Samurai. Whenever a Samurai Warrior you control attacks alone, tap target creature you don't control. This card's good. That effect's always like kind of good. I'll get in damage. If this was a different set, the attacking alone part would be like a big bummer. But the fact that like all of the Samurai stuff is trying to do that makes it look a lot better to me. Intercessor's Arrest, 2 and a white, enchantment aura, enchant permanent, enchanted permanent can't attack, block, or crew vehicles. If activated ability can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. Sweet. So, I mean, it's just an arrest. It's arrest relevant with vehicles, which I think we've had before, but this is cool. The art's cool. The art's really cool, actually. Really dynamic. I like the pages of text zooming like around the speeder bank. So it's like, what was the word I used? Dynamic? Yeah, real dynamic. And then you get this like evocative city landscape in the background. This is like a lot of work for a downscaled card art appearing on a common. Like this could be on a like a rare, I think. Fucking sick though. Anyway, I should move on. If I wax too poetic about art, this review will take me a billion years. Oh, someone pointed out that this can enchant any permanent, so it's not just an arrest. I was wrong there. It's enchant permanent, not just enchant like creature or vehicle or whatever. I mean, we are enchanting vehicles with it. Or maybe an unactivated creature land. And then its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. That works on Planeswalkers too, right? Yeah. I guess I'll re-edit my initial response. In limited, like, it's pretty rare that you're gonna be using this to answer a Planeswalker. It's pretty often just gonna be like a regular old arrest, but the added versatility is really good. Basically a universal removal, yeah. Of course it still leaves passive effects, but yeah, not the worst. Is this Bounding Gold? Sure. It does have a biker red in the art. Yeah. That is also my favorite part of the card as well. Invoke Justice. 1 white sorcery. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then distribute 4 1/1 counters among any number of target creatures and or vehicles target player controls. I feel like this card would be really good if it didn't have quad white and the casting cost. It's probably a good thing that it's got quad white and the casting cost, Tom. Yeah, 4 white is really tough. That's a really powerful card. I guess we had kind of similar. There's that master set that had an instant speed 5 mana removal spell that put like 2 1/1 counters on it. The card was sick though. The card would have seen standard play if it was printed in standard, I think. Unless I'm horrifically misremembering things. Does this work with Ballista? Walking Ballista? I think so. Because the card's still resolving, right? The Ballista can't die in the middle of the card's resolution. Because state-based effects aren't checked. Get back a Ballista Citadel from the Ardent Cube. Yeah, you can have quad white and triple black in the same deck. I don't think this is a very good cube card because the casting cost is really prohibitive. You'd almost have to be building your cube around monocolor decks. Yeah. You can play quad white cards in limited, but you have to have like a pretty good reason and a lot of white sources. Every once in a while, monocolor decks work out in limited. This is an effect that can happen like pretty late. Is this a matter of like, is this good enough to be worth like having to wait a while to cast it? Maybe. I'm not super convinced. We'll see though. Yeah, the effect isn't bad at 7 mana if you're like waiting until turn 7 or 8 to be able to play it or whatever. But it's not like incredible, right? Whereas if you can like trade your 4-drops and play this on turn 5, then the 4/1 counters are like pretty backbreaking. There's just like a world of difference, right? Anyway. Kitsune Ace, 1 white. Creature Fox Pilot, 2/2. Whenever a vehicle you control attacks, choose 1. Do I think you can see play in standard? Invoke Justice? Yeah, I think unlikely. Like the different abilities just don't like seem like standard, like abilities you want in your mono white deck in standard, right? Like if you're doing recursion stuff, if you're building your deck around recursion, it's very rare that you want to be mono white. I don't think I can think of competitive standard mono white Reanimator deck. Because you usually want, you know, black cards to bin cards and blue to filter and stuff to make your deck super consistent.
Oh shit, what up?
White Weenies. With White Weenies, I think you would rather just play a Glorious Anthem. You would rather play like a more efficient card. You wouldn't want to pay 5 mana. For 5 mana, you can just like play a threat, right? You can just like play a damn dragon or something. Anyway. You think it's Virtuous Gearhulk-esque? Sort of. Gearhulk doesn't need to have a permanent in the graveyard. You know what I mean? Like, Virtuous Gearhulk is gonna, like, curve out and help you, like, overwhelm the opponent regardless of what's happened in the game. A Reanimation card needs, like, some very specific things to happen. And one of the ways that you can make Reanimator consistent is with non-white cards, right? Draw and discard, loot effects, that sort of thing. So that that you'll always have something to recur, always have something good to recur. And those aren't mono-white things, right? Those aren't mono-white abilities. It's kind of what I'm getting at when I'm talking about how I think it's kind of iffy for standard. But again, that's just like a first take. Level 1 analysis of Invoke Justice right here. Alright, 1 into white, 2/2. Yeah, you want your pump cards to be like really effective, right? Or not effective, but efficient. Well, this is 5 mana, it's not efficient if you're valuing it for the pump. And you don't want it to be situational. Again, you need to have the permanent to recur. Alright, I'm gonna finally talk about this Fox Pilot. Whenever a vehicle you control attacks, choose one. That vehicle gains first strike. Or untap Kitsune Ace. Interesting. So is the untapped Kitsune Ace supposed to be useful so you can like crew something on attack and defense? Yeah, I don't know how much I care about that. I guess it's just supposed to be doing like double work crewing in the same way as this 1-drop is, but it's not hyper efficient like the 1-drop, right? It's not like a 1 mana 2/1. And the 1-drop is like really, really good at the thing you want to be doing, which is attacking. And being able to attack and block is like just not as useful. It's better to be like pretty good at one thing than to be like half as good at 2 things. Oh, that's an important part. You do not have to crew the vehicle with this card for the abilities to work. So all your vehicles will just have first strike with a Kitsune Ace in play, if you want them to. Yeah, I think that makes it like better filler. Having your vehicles just be like way more likely to win combat. I wonder if there's a ball lightning vehicle. Yeah, high grade filler, exactly. Something that you might even take like kind of aggressively in pack 3 if you're doing a lot of vehicle stuff and you're low on 2-drops. There's from Kaladesh. I mean this set, obviously. Come on. To work with this card in this limited format. Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa. 3 and white, 3/3. Legendary creature, Dragon Spirit. This art, what is going on here? I think that, is it weird that I think this art is kind of kinky? Like whatever's happening. It feels like a still from the movie Naked Lunch, if you've ever seen that. I don't recommend that movie, unless you got really weird tastes. Anyway, legendary creature, Dragon Spirit, flash flying. When enters the battlefield and the target permanent gains indestructible for as long as you troll Kyodai. Then for one of every color mana, it gets +5/+5 until end of turn. You tried to make it through that movie? I've seen that movie through multiple times. Oh, man. I also like Burrows, though, so... interesting for multiple reasons. Yeah, 4 mana for a 3/3 flash flying that saves something is very, Restoration Angel-esque, right? Sometimes this ability is better than Resto's, because you can be like attacking with a 2/2, your opponent blocks with a 2/2, you flash this in, indestructible, you get to win the trade. Whereas if you're using Resto to save a creature in combat, then your 2/2 isn't dealing damage to their 2/2. It's just getting saved. It is a legend, unlike Resto, so you're probably not going to be playing 4 of them unless you like are doing this 5 mana ability at times. We're still gonna have the dual faced fixers in standard, right? That's true. You can use it on non-creatures. So if they're vindicating your land or putting a removal spell at your planeswalker or something. I think most of the time you're using it on a creature, of course. Yeah, pathways stay. So you could put this into a deck that's not planning on activating the ability very often, and then just like have a couple of random pathways that give you the ability to in some super late games. I think this card's quite good. I could say it's like borderline modern interesting. Because these days Resto is like borderline modern interesting, you know, it's not exactly a staple anymore. But there are some huge upsides to the ability over Resto's ability. You're not getting another comes into play ability from like a Resto Blink with Wall of Omens or whatever. There's a lot of other upsides. It is a Dragon Spirit. I mean, Bant Spirits are pretty far away from playable in Modern these days. I mean, maybe pretty far is an overstatement, but they're not exactly great. But if they were reasonable, this would certainly be something that I'd want to try out. And Spirits are playable in other formats, right? Pioneer or whatever the fuck. Spirits in Standard. I haven't been super up on my Standard. I don't know if Spirits is a standard viable deck. I know that I messed around with it a little bit, and it seemed like there was something there, but I didn't like do any follow through. But maybe this could give it a push. Light the Way, 1 white instant. Choose one, put a 1/1 counter on target creature or vehicle, untap it. Or return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. Weird little combat track. This is the sort of card I'm going to discredit, never play ever, and get blown out with like the one time my opponent plays it and absolutely destroys me. That's going to be my history with this card. The combat trick part of it seems like very piddly, right? And the saving a permanent you control is only going to be good versus removal. It's not as good as like giving something indestructible, right? Because then you have to replay the permanent. So versatile, but very underpowered. It does untap it, yep. That's the tricky bit. You attack with your creature, and then your opponent attacks it, and you only have a single white mana. Untap my creature, kill your thing, haha! It'll come up in like 1 game in 10. You'll feel like a genius. And then you'll have this like undercosted card the rest of the time. It's good for the modified creatures deck. The modified creatures deck. The untap's gonna get you every time. It's gonna get me every time too. I kind of had that disclaimer. I don't think this card's good, but I will lose to it. one of those. Great for Pauper. This? No way. Well, you mean like the mono white aggro deck, the heroic deck? Yeah, I don't think so. It seems worse than the put a 1/1 counter on a permanent you control with flashback. And they don't even play 4 of that card. Light Pause, Emperor's Voice. 1 and a white, legendary creature, Fox Advisor. Whenever an aura enters the battlefield under your control, if you cast it, you may search your library for an aura card with mana value less than or equal to that aura with a different name than each aura you control. Put that card on the battlefield attached to Light Pause, Emperor's Voice, then shuffle. So normally this is the sort of card that would make me like think, oh man, I should test this out in in Modern Boggles, but Modern Boggles is absolutely atrocious right now due to cards like Dress Down and Prismatic Ending being very, very commonly played in the format. Engineered Explosives, all the Saga decks getting getting that equipment that turns off Hexproof. You know, it's a very hostile format for Boggles currently. Historic's a little bit different. I should say that even if Boggles was like quasi-playable in Modern, I don't think this card would quite make the cut. For the same reason that SRAM doesn't, right? It's just like not quite as good as the creatures that you're currently playing. I do like it for Historic though. The downside is that it has to be a name, a card with a different name than other auras you have. So you can't just stack like the 1 mana +1/+1 for each other enchantment you have, right? You can get it if you don't have it already, but you can't just stack it. There are 2 of that effect. There's a 1 and a white one as well. Makes it a little bit better. You're unlikely to have both already. You think this card is a 4 of in Pioneer Auras? I mean, it is a legend. It is a legend, and it cannot get cards with the same name. So I think it will be good enough in Historic Auras, but I'm not certain it'll be a 4 of. Is where I'm at. I'm open to being pleasantly surprised. Yeah, all that glitters in Ethereal Armor, thank you. Those are the 2 enchantments that I was talking about. Those are the important ones. The ones to boost you up and actually get in lethal. If you cast? Well, yeah, I mean, if it wasn't if you cast, then it would go infinite with itself, right? Go straight into your Fox Advisor EDH deck. Yum, yum. It's gonna be a staple there. Vintage Foxes, yeah. Okay, Lion Sash. We're making progress here. We're making progress. Lion Sash, 1 in white. Artifact creature, equipment cat. God, that was hard to read. Artifact creature, equipment cat. 1 white, exile target card from a graveyard. It was a permanent card. Put a 1 counter on Lion Sash. For his scavenging usability. And then equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each 1/1 counter on Lion Sash.
Oh shit, what up?
And then Reconfigure too. Yeah. So people have been calling this the new white scavenging ooze. That's pretty apt. It is a little bit lower power, right? Like you're getting 1/1 instead of a 2/2. You can't Green Sun for it, but you can Stoneforge Mystic for it. And then you have that Reconfigure versatility. Also, the fact that it costs 2, so you can play it in your Stoneforge Mystic Lurrus decks. It's really, really important. It's gonna give those decks, gonna give every Stoneforge Mystic deck a little bit of mid to late game oomph. You've got another hoser. You've got another hoser for the Graveyard Matters decks. It's a hoser that's like good against dedicated graveyard decks and like random utility cards like Snapcaster as well. Just as long as you have mana. And then it's a top deck that when you have the mana to put into it, you can just like grow really, 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 really fast. Yeah, this card fucking rules, Doesn't gain life, it does not gain life, that's true. So it's not going to be quite as easy to like stabilize and shift a game with it. But it does play like a lot better with in a deck full of flyers. Because then you can take advantage of the +1/+1s, moving stuff around, you know, doing white things. Does dodge sweepers. Yeah, put it on a Thopter, why not? Triggers off of any permanent, not just creatures, so it grows faster. That's true. There's a lot of fetch lands in Modern. In Legacy. Gonna get big. Gonna get big real easy. You can jam this in Infinity, for sure. It does only dodge sweepers if it's equipped, right? I think that's what you're going to want to do, right? Draw it off the top, play it, equip it, exile some things, get in there. Lucky Offering. Yeah, so this card's great. It's like obviously great in limited and constructed, and every Magic format is you're gonna be playing Lion Slash. Lucky Offering, 1 white sorcery, destroy target artifact with mana value 3 or less. You gain 3 life. This art is really sweet. If I'm playing a limited disenchant, I don't like it being, well, limited, right? I want to be able to disenchant anything. I want to be able to disenchant your opponent's like larger bomb. Like if they play like a 4-mana Saga or whatever. Oh, it's not even hitting Sagas. It's like literally only artifacts. I guess there's some artifact creatures in this format. That maybe makes it a little bit better. And life gain, incidental life gain is better in limited than it is in constructed. Overall, I should say usually I'm happy main decking a disenchant effect in my limited decks though. I'm probably not going to be main decking this one. It's probably just going to be a sideboard card. When I see that my opponent's doing like vehicle stuff, or if they have a lot of cheap artifact creatures, that's what I'm considering boarding this in. March of Otherworldly Light, X-White, instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of white cards from your hand. The spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. Exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment with mana value X or less. This art's really, really cool. Oh, it's Neil's hand. No wonder. It kind of reminds me of like a more stylized Paprika. The crowd scene.
Oh shit, what up?
Oh shit, what up? Hey Reeve, thanks to the sub, thanks for sharing that Prime, the 10 months. Gay set reviews indeed. Just keep playing ending. Oh yeah, you're talking about this versus ending in Eternal formats. It is awkward that it has to compete with that, because this costs a lot more than Prismatic Ending, so it's not really a competition. The cool thing about this, in comparison to Ending, is that you do get to hit Urza's Saga, right? 1-mana instant speed in response to your comes into play ability. You can exile an Urza's Saga. That's kind of narrow, and it's just like worse than Ending, and most everything else that you want to do in Modern or what have you. I guess hitting Hammer at instant speed could matter, or Inkmoth Nexus. Kind of narrow usages though, kind of narrow spots, right? And pitching cards to make this cheaper is not good. It's not a great ability. I don't think any of them, where you're like exiling a bunch of cards to make it cheaper, I don't think any of those look attractive. In Search of 1988 thinks the Sob thinks the 28 months. Playable, but not main deckable. Yeah, I think you're just gonna end up with better cards, main deck or sideboard. It's like unique enough and new enough that I'm open to being wrong, but that's my initial read. In Historic, it's fine to pitch extra lands. The extra lands have to be white, right? Yeah, they have to be white cards. So they'd have to be like those modal dual-faced, like the Angel Maker or something. If you're pitching lands. Not a lot of those. You could use the pitch ability to pay for the Thalia tax, yeah. The Alcanius says that in the majority of decks, Ending can only hit 3-mana stuff. This can kill anything. I guess that's valid. The issue, though, is that the efficiency matters so much more than being able to kill something that costs a little bit more, I think. Once you're like saying, okay, I want to kill my opponent's 5-drop creature, then March is no longer competing with Prismatic Ending, but now you're competing with, you know, cards like Solitude. Cards that give you like actual value for that mana cost instead of just trading 1 for 1. Hey, Frylock thinks the sub thinks the 36 months, the 3 years there. So I don't think it matches up very well there either. Anyway, great. Yeah, I discussed being an instant Porthian. Talked about that a while. The issue is that it's like not enough of an upside. The points where it matters, being an instant, doesn't make up for the other parts. It does have great art, I agree. Yeah, but you're not main decking Wear and Tear, man. I think people that are excited about this hitting Saga are considering it for the main deck as like a universal removal spell. Now I think Planeswalkers is kind of relevant too. Alright, Michiko's Reign of Truth, 1 and a white. Saga, target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each artifact and or enchantment you control. So that's going to count itself, so it's going to at least be giving +1/+1. I deal a whole lot more. And then the third mode is exile the Saga which in the battlefield transformed. And Portrait of Michiko gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or enchantment you control. I think this card's good. You're getting the 2 mana +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment or a effect for the first 2 modes of the Saga. And then the 3rd mode is like a pretty good creature for that sort of thing. If this is good enough for Eternal formats, like thinking historic auras, it's gonna be because like most of the time 2 modes of this is enough to like kill the opponent. And then every once in a while this is value. Worse than just having like a static pump though, because this is gonna have Summoning Sickness. It exiles the Saga and then returns to the battlefield. So you'll be missing out on damage the turn it comes into play. If there's a standard deck, that wants this though, I think this card's quite good. Getting insulated against a 2-for-1. Yeah, I mean, the decks that are playing this sort of thing usually are like pretty insulated against removal anyway, right? Just like a bunch of indestructible effects and stuff. So I don't think that solves any problems for those decks. You think there's an aggressive white-green enchantment creature deck that wants this? Like in Standard? I wouldn't be surprised if you're right. That's like the sort of thing where I see it too. I could be underestimating the flip side for Eternal formats.
Oh shit, what up?
But again, taking a turn off of damage is really, really bad. Hey, Obi-Wan Kenobi thinks the Sod leaks are 24 months there in the 2 years. You think modern decks? You think modern decks want this? What modern deck? Hey, Zach thinks the 42 months. Is this good enough for Affinity? No. No, I don't think so. In Affinity, like, you're playing Cranial Plating or a Nettle Cyst. And, like, it's hard to have enough room for your Nettle Cysts. Just, like, much, much stronger than this card. You like playing janky enchantment stuff?
Oh shit, what up?
Yeah, but that's not... When most people are talking about calling a card like playable in Modern, they're hoping that the deck itself is playable, right? Obviously all these cards are Modern legal. Hey, Quacks, thanks for 57 months.
Oh shit, what up?
Fits right in Grixis Death Shadow. Michiko's Reign of Truth? Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Hey, Nuke MR, thanks to the sub, thanks to the 10 months there. Appreciate you. Alright, Moth Rider Patrol. 1 mana creature, Fox Warrior, 1/1 flyer. 4 mana tap a creature. This is sweet. The thing is, like a 1 mana 1/1 flyer has just proven to be quite good in mono white aggro, standard, historic shenanigans, with very little else, right? Like sometimes a 1 mana 1/2 first strike flyer is fine, stuff like that. And this one's got a tap ability. This one can port creatures, help your stuff get in, or just like tap down your opponent's giant thing, prevent them from racing. This ability does not have to come up very often at all for this card to be great. Because a 1/1 mana, 1/1 flyer, for the decks that want that, that's already great. And then, solid and limited too, of course. A 1 mana, 1/1 flyer would not be solid and limited by itself, but the 4 mana for the tap ability becomes better and limited. It's more likely to come up, more likely to be relevant. In limited, you're not going to want this card in multiples, though. Whereas in standard, unless you're like extremely aggressive, unless you like actually want a 1 mana, 1/1 flyer. Whereas in standard, you're going to want like the full 4. Because that's the part of the card that you care about, right? The efficient body. Ninjutsu, that's a good point. Ninjutsu is a supported mechanic. It does get a lot more exciting if you've got a lot of ninjutsu cards. Really, really good point to bring up there. Norika Yamazaki, the poet. 2 and a white for a 3/2 legendary creature, human samurai. Vigilance. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn. And then you still have to pay the casting cost for the enchantment in your graveyard. So I guess the poet can like rebuy Sagas. Get some value that way. You get back those enchantment creatures. Random auras that have fallen off. I'm trying to think of like how useful this card will be on average. It's kind of a hard one to place without playing the set a bit. All Sagas in the set stay on the board. Sort of. They turn into creatures, right? And creatures have a way of dying. Yeah, I get that the samurai thing in this format is to like attack with a single creature. It's just a matter of like how often do you want a 3 mana 3/2 vigilance with this ability? Because a 3 mana 3/2 vigilance is not a super exciting set of stats, right? So when I'm evaluating cards, the vehicle that can rebuy a 2-drop, it's like really easy to conceive, very intuitive to think of a way that you might want to rebuy a 2-drop with your 3-drop, right? It's just like a natural curve progression. All of your limited decks are going to have a certain number of 2-drops. But until you actually build with the format a bit, until you actually like play with it a bit, it's hard to know how often you're going to be able to get value out of this ability. That all said, this is like clearly a little bit better than filler, right? It's like 3 mana 3/2 vigilance would be filler stats. You don't need to trigger this very often for it to be quite good. A 3 mana 3/2 vigilant Eternal Witness is a lot different than just a 3 mana 3/2 vigilant. It's legendary. Kind of interesting. My music's not showing up on my overlay. Thank you. I think that should fix it. Appreciate that. Region's Authority does have great art. Looks kind of eerie, huh? A little creepy. One white instant, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It's an enchantment creature or legendary creature. So I put a 1/1 counter on it. It gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Yeah, I mean, it's a combat trick, Then you can also modify your enchantment creatures, legendary creatures. Having right next to an uncommon legendary creature is kind of nice. Yeah, card seems fine, right?
Oh shit, what up?
I'm usually not super thrilled about pump effects, but being able to have lasting power is great. If you can. A 1 mana for +2/+2 is like generic filler pump spell. It's been standard for a minute. Hey Brebner, thanks for 47 months there. Repel the Vile. 3 and a white, instant, choose 1, exile a target creature with power 4 or greater, or exile target enchantment. Yeah, this is decent. So for 4 mana, exiling a creature with power 4 or greater by itself is kind of narrow. We've had that card in a few different sets, reprinted and whatnot. And sometimes it was main deckable if you had a deck that was just like weak to large creatures, low removal, aggression, that sort of thing. Or if you're playing sealed, where like eventually your opponent will play something with power 4 or greater. But a lot of times it was just like a sideboard card for decks that it would be a more consistent removal spell against. Here, the fact that it's got a different mode of being able to exile an enchantment in a format where there's like a ton of enchantments means that I think this is a very main deckable removal spell. I don't think it's an early pick just because it costs 4 mana, so I'm not like first picking this or anything. But I don't think it's an embarrassing card to take like semi-early. If you're light on removal, do it for the Vile. The Restoration of Iganjo, 2 and a white. Saga, search your library card for basic planes, reveal it, put in your hand. 2, you may discard a card. When you do, return target permanent card, mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This is interesting how this is split up. You may discard a card, and then it says when you do, return target permanent card. This kind of seems like you can recur the card that you discard first, and then when you do, then you choose target. Which is very interesting, because the first ability gives you a permanent that costs, that has a mana value of 2 or less. Very synergistic pair of abilities right there, And then 3 is exile this Saga and returns the battlefield transformed. Architect of Restoration, enchantment creature, Fox Monk, Vigilance. Whenever attacks or blocks, you get a 1/1 color spirit token, and it's a 3/4. Yeah, this card's fucking gas, right? Like, I think the backside creature could even be like a little bit worse, and this card would still be great. This is an exciting one. Seems good in Doom Foretold. Played a little bit of Doom Foretold in Historic and Pioneer. This is the sort of deck that card loves, or sort of the card that deck loves. How do I see value in recurring what you discarded? Getting a card into play for free? That's fucking awesome. Obviously, it doesn't have to be a land, right? And you can bin a dead card, recur something that you played earlier. A lot of versatility there. And the versatility by itself wouldn't be interesting if it was like inconsistent, but it's extremely consistent. Because again, the first ability literally gives you one of these permanents that you can use to ramp into play. It's good. Right, even land does ramp you. Of course, a 3-mana ramping growth that only works for basic planes wouldn't be that exciting, but of course this card is a lot more than that, right? Yeah, we talked about that, Linus. You do not have to have a viable target because of how it's split up. You may discard a card, and then it says when you do. The when you do part is like really important. So you don't need to choose targets until after you've discarded. Selfless Samurai, 1 and a white for a 2/2. Creature Fox Samurai. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink until end of turn. That's a sweet ability. Sacrifice Selfless Samurai, another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, I love it. This is a nice set of stats. My hunch, and this is just a hunch, like my skeptical hunchiness, is that Samurai / Warrior is like probably not going to be a standard playable deck. I think Warriors have been like borderline historically at other points. And obviously I haven't read the whole set, so like there could be other cards that change my mind.
Oh shit, what up?
But this is the sort of card that would be like a role player within that archetype, and it's going to be quite good and limited, right? Just because you have so many different abilities going on here, all attached to, you know, a very playable 2-mana 2/2 body. Hey, Lupacrudo, thanks for the 16 months there. Yeah, lifelink's really strong when you're in a racing situation. And this thing doesn't just like have lifelink when it attacks by itself. It also gives that to other things that you're boosting and whatnot. And then protects them with the sacrifice aspect. Seven-Tailed Minter, 3 and a white for a 2/3 Fox Samurai. When enters the battlefield or dies, put a 1/1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. Yeah, this card's fine, right? Filler is filler. Love the colors inside. I guess something that's kind of cool about this, with it being a samurai, is you can like attack in, give it lifelink, or you know, all the regular samurai abilities. Then if your opponent gangs up to block it, then you're getting Leaves Play. A Leaves Play trigger from it. Even that's not like incredibly inciting though, right? Still is something you're playing if you have 4 mana. A hole in your 4-drop slot, rather. Solid white 4-drop? Yeah. Solid / unexciting. Skyblessed Samurai, 7 mana. Enchantment creature, human samurai. This is so much mana. Costs 1 less to cast for each enchantment you control. Oh god. Oh boy. We're getting some enchantment lands in this set too. Got flying. Well, this card, this Infinity for Enchantments card, seems very safe. Seems like a very safe card to print. So there's that much at least. Flying is sweet. How many enchantments do you need to have in your deck before this card gets good? I think a lot. Maybe not that much. 6 mana 4/4 flyers have been playable in some limited formats, like really slow ones. This format hasn't seemed extremely fast or anything. And then it's got enchantment synergies and samurai synergies. 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer is good, but how many enchantments do you need in your deck before it's consistently a 5 mana 4/4 flyer? It's more than 2. you kind of need a lot to make it consistently. Costs 2 less on 5. $10-12. That's kind of what I was thinking. Around that range. And they obviously have to be relatively cheap. Like if a good chunk of those cost 4+, then you can't really count them as discounts. This one getting lifelink from Selfless Samurai is pretty hot. Alright, let's read Spirited Companion. 1 and a white for a 1/1 enchantment creature dog. I just battlefield draw card. Yeah, this card fucking rules. This isn't the only card that does this in this set, but there's a few different cards that give us like the Elvish Visionary ability here. Or there's a Ravenous Rats ability that's an artifact creature. I really like that. Because those are utility creatures that are just like pleasant to play with and limited. And then they get that extra dynamic from the enchantment or artifact type for those synergies. Like you could have a whole deck that's just like a pile of Spirited Companions and Skyblessed Samurai and be like really happy about it. Sweet stuff. And this is the sort of card that you can play like, there's like not really a ceiling on it in the right sort of deck. Remember that Spirited Companion is not gas in and of itself. It's value, but it's not gas. You can't win the game if your whole deck is 2 mana 1/1s. You do need a way to convert that value. Whether it's something that gives you +1/+1 for each enchantment you control, or equipment that boosts the body into something more reasonable. You get the idea. Sounds like another challenge. No. I don't think so, Joshko. I did get that part. Would I want this in Enchantress? Are you talking about like modern Enchantress? I don't think so. Modern Enchantress has like the 1 mana enchant land, the cantrips. They play that one. Modern Enchantress has some like pretty efficient cards. They like literally have Enchantress effects for 2 mana, right? But like if you got an EDH Enchantress deck, or if there's a standard Enchantress deck, then Spirited Companion starts to look more reasonable. You play more than 6 dogs in limited. In the right deck, I think you can play more than 6 dogs. That's not every deck. Again, you need a way to convert it. You need a way to convert. Are there any other affinity for enchantment cards? I don't know. I assume there were. This would be like a little weird if it was the only one in the set. But we'll see, huh? It's the only one we've seen so far. Sunblade Samurai, 4 and a white, 4/4. Enchantment creature, human samurai, vigilant. Channel 2, discard Sunblade Samurai, search your library for basic planes, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle, you gain 2 life. This card's cool. If you're playing this in Constructed, you're playing it for the channel, right? You just want to like bin something, get a land, gain 2 life. And then maybe use the creature in your graveyard somehow. Recursion, living end, you know, that sort of deal. But the stats are obviously not Constructed worthy if you're just thinking about playing a 5-mana 4/4. Still, seems like a great limited card. Relevant creature type, enchantment, options if you need those land drops. Good card is good. Yeah, you can play a few of these. Once you've like hit that spot on your curve, like you don't really mind drawing multiples. And if you haven't hit that spot on the curve yet, it helps you hit that land drop so you get there. The mass res enchantment spell. Yeah. I mean, I don't think spending 7 mana to get some 4/4s back is gonna do it. I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical, but maybe. I mean, maybe if there's other stuff going on. I can't talk too much shit about that card because, like I mentioned earlier, I have played Open the Vaults in Standard. Sure, Lord of Depression, but I really need a good reason to play that 7 mana card before I start thinking of support cards for it. Is kind of what I'm getting at. Right now, it's a solution without a problem. Because I don't know if the 7 mana card's interesting. Touch the Spirit Realm. 3 mana enchantment. When touch the Spirit Realm, enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature until it leaves the battlefield. Okay. So modified O-Ring. And channel is 1 white. Discard it. Exile target artifact or creature. Return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Cool. So it's a O-Ring that can also blink something. And not just blink something, like blink your thing or the opponent's things. Remember the channel is instant too. I mean, if it was just a O-Ring effect, you would play this in you'd pick it pretty highly in limited. It's because removal's great. It's a little bit better. Haven't seen a lot of O-Ring see constructed play recently, but it is a very useful channel ability. You could stifle channel effects. If someone channeled, you could stifle it. Wanderer's Intervention. 1 in a white instant. Deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. Yeah, this is fine. Another Gideon's Reproach or what have you. Fairly typical white removal spell. You can play 1 or 2. I think this sort of effect is like a little bit worse than, like say a pacifism. When you're attacking, because with this, like you attack with 3 creatures, they block 1 of them, and then you use this to like save your creature if you're on the attack. Whereas with pacifism, you just like take their creature out of combat, and then you get to connect with 3 creatures instead of just connecting with 2. So I tend to value this sort of effect less in aggro decks and more in control decks. Like, I think this is way better than having like some random 2-drop Goblin Piker in my control deck. In that style of deck, you're really only playing early drops to like gum up the board, trade with your opponent's early drops so you can live long enough and do your stuff. This card does that, you know, it kills an early game creature, but then it also has the benefit of not being utter trash in the late game, so it's a pretty nice control type card. But in limited, aggro usually wants to, or white usually wants to be a little bit more aggressive. So I tend to undervalue this sort of effect a little bit, but because of those concerns. But it's certainly not a bad card, right? Obviously. All right, the Wandering Emperor, 2 white, legendary planeswalker, flash. As long as the Wandering Emperor enters the battlefield this turn, you may activate her abilities anytime you can cast an instant. +1, put 1/1 counter on up to 1 target creature against first strike until end of turn. -1, get a 2/2 samurai with vigilance. Or -2, exile target tapped creature, you gain 2 life. Yeah, I think this card's gas. So it's instant speed removal. Or just the fact that you're just like able to make the 2/2 at the end of your opponent's turn. And then untap, make it a 3/3. Planeswalkers usually want to be able to protect themselves, and this one protects itself very, very well. The actual bodies it's putting into play aren't that like overpowered, because you do have to downtick to make the token. I think this card would be like kind of busted if it was 0 mana to make a 2/2. As is, it's like good, appropriately costed, I think. Exciting, interesting for constructed play for sure. Not quite enough utility to replace, like, say, Nahiri in Cube or Modern. Not that Nahiri's seen a ton of play in Modern lately anyway. But definitely a good looking standard card. And potentially a card for like blue-white control style decks in older formats. Could be interesting there. Just being able to like flash it in, right? Your deck full of counters. Pretty big upside. When we were young, 3 and a white instant up to 2 target creatures, each get +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control an artifact and an enchantment, those creatures also gain lifelink until end of turn. That's cool. It's a cool card. How often is the lifelink happening? I guess is a question. Hey, Sly Croissant thinks the 14 months, and Corey Mary thinks the sub thinks the 16 months there. A 1000% of the time, you're just always gonna have the lifelink. Yeah, enchantment creature in a vehicle or an equipment. I mean, Incidental Life Gain is really good. Obviously, this is not a constructed card. Incidental Life Gain just, like, helps you win those races, right, in Limited. You're not untapping the creatures. Yeah, I guess I don't think this card's gonna be like a high pick. I think this format's gonna be like a little slower, so you're probably playing a 4-drop on form. So you're trying to make the space to play this on the turns afterwards. But if I'm wrong, if there is like a super aggressive card deck, one of the awkward things about this is that in white, a lot of the attacking cards in this set in white, one would be attacking alone because they're samurai, right? And when we were young, lets you buff 2 creatures. And that's how you get your value, right? You have like 2. The way that this is better than like a 1 mana +2/+2, which is way more efficient. The way this is better is if you have multiple things in combat going on. So you can win 2 different trades. Or get 4 damage in to like kill the opponent out of nowhere. Like screw up their math. So it doesn't actually play very well with the mechanics of the set, aside from, again, you're gonna get the extra life gain boost if you have an artifact and enchantment, which seems pretty easy in this format. Yeah, so it's not the sort of card that tends to excite me. Anyway, we are now done with the white section